Okay, so have you all heard about this common sense discipline that is being pushed back into our atmosphere around discipline in schools? And I'll agree more on this. Listen, common sense discipline is not common sense at all. It's pretty ignorant because what it's doing is it's causing people to move away from all the work that's been done over the last 2 decades to decrease exclusionary practices. What are exclusionary practices? They are when students are removed from the learning environment by whatever means, whether it's sitting in the hallway, the principal's office, or on the bench, sent home in another classroom because they're being removed out of the classroom, or perceived behavior issues that often are not the child's fault. And we'll talk about that too a bit more. If you follow me on my channel, I'm going to be talking a lot more about this. And I have a doctorate and I'm an educator, long-standing, proven track record to get results over all the experiences that I've been in. So I'm not speaking from a place of ignorance. I'm speaking from a place of experience, lived experience, academic experience, and then also in leadership. Common sense discipline is going to take us back to places where children are seen as they're seen as the problem, when really often it's the system that's the problem. And there are ways that schools can address the culture and climate of their schools to make sure that every student, and I'm going to say with an appreciation for who they are and the uniqueness that they bring into the school and classroom, that they can thrive. Often misbehavior is communication of something. And what we want to do as educators is focus on the outside of our peripheral of influence or our influence. And what we do when we do that is we don't take time to look at our own practices. When we are providing highly engaged, culturally relevant instruction, students will lock in and they will come into that space ready to learn and do the work. This common sense discipline, where we're talking about suspending children and babies, it doesn't consider the years of research on implicit bias, on systemic inequities that are a part of the school systems, the cultures, and then the things that people bring with them when they come into the school space. So as adults, when we come in, we bring our values, our beliefs, our conditioning, and then we want to say that the problem is the child. When really, the problem is we have gone into this work, into this space, virtually unchecked. We don't check ourselves. We don't check our values. We don't check how we position students. We don't check the systems that were already there, the culture that was already there. And then what happens is that when a child is behaving in a certain way that doesn't align with the norms that have been established, usually by the few in the school and not the school community, not the students, that then the problem is the student. And that was my research. My research showed back in 2014 how when students, what we call misbehave, how they become personified as the problem. In some of my research, one of the participants in the research, one of the teachers said, I was trying to teach in the classroom and a student was misbehaving, so I had to get the problem out of the classroom. The child's name completely was not a part of the conversation. The child's humanity in person was not considered in that moment. And this was a very caring and hardworking teacher who did not check her bias at the door, who did not understand that we have to constantly question why we think the way we do, why we make the decisions we make, and how they impact our students and school systems, right? And so she wanted to get the problem out of the classroom, and the child lost his humanity and became a problem. And once we start seeing the children and the students as the problem, we no longer look at ourselves in the system. The common sense is to check ourselves. The common sense is to understand that even when we don't have all of our needs met, or when something's not sitting right for us, we also misbehave. But no one's suspending us and kicking us out of the schools when we do it. And so, or out of relationships or out of situations. So we really want to be thoughtful about that. I will be sharing more on strategies for keeping our most precious human beings, our children, in our classrooms and in the schools. And I will be sharing strategies that have been proven to be effective as I continue to work. I just wanted to take a moment to share that this is problematic and it's something that has to be addressed. So for all of you schools that have been engaging in equity and inclusion work, or just good old-fashioned continuous improvement work that looks to make sure all students across all student groups are thriving and feel like they are part of the schools, I'll be sharing information up on how to continue to do that. Do not throw your good sense and understanding of what is best for students out of the window or out the door because we're being told we need this common sense discipline, because the way that they're talking about it is going to hurt children. It's going to push back all of your efforts that you've been engaging in your continuous improvement processes back into the Stone Ages where children are going to be hurt. And then when you see the outcomes being dismal in terms of academic, it's going to be because of the common sense discipline that says we need to kick our kids out of school. We need to suspend them. That only creates more problems. And there is a lot of research that shows that when we discipline kids in terms of exclusionary practices, it creates a bigger problem. It's like a snowballing effect, because if they're not in the classroom, they're missing instruction. And there is data that shows that students, when you calculate for all students, the total number of suspension days is astronomical. Look this up, and I'll try to find the links and put them down in the information, the description, so that you can look at this. But it is astronomical. And then when we think about why are students meeting our benchmarks or not showing the growth, when you start looking at how many days, hours, years that students missing school because of exclusionary practices, which will be linked to the common sense discipline practices, you'll realize that it's a snowball effect. It's a trap. Don't fall for it. No nonsense discipline is not the way to go. We want to have high, engaging, culturally relevant instruction. We want to build relationships between our students and their families. We want to make sure we're building partnerships with our students and their families, their caregivers and parents. We want to make sure that we are interacting with the peers before that first behavior might happen in ways that build trust. We want to make sure when we are assuming or perceiving that a child is misbehaving, that we're checking ourselves first. In what ways have I created a space for this child or this student, this human being, right, to feel like they belong and that they have rightful presence? When we do that, we will shift things. And so more to come, but I'm just heated when I see people who don't know the first thing about education make decisions about education to take our educators back, and furthermore, to hurt our students, to hurt the very people that we committed ourselves to supporting and building up. Their identities, their social identities are being formed in schools because they spend the majority of their childhood in the classroom and in schools. So if I am constantly making a student feel like something's wrong with them because I haven't checked myself, then they're going to see themselves as something being wrong with them. And then if my instruction doesn't have them reflected in it, they don't see themselves, their cultures, their contributions to society historically there, that's going to make them see themselves negatively. And then if I don't make sure that I am providing engaging instruction is also developmentally appropriate, that I'm checking to make sure the students are learning what's being taught, and then making sure that I'm accountable, that if a child didn't learn something, that I have to go back and understand what it is I need to do differently to make sure that child learns. And then we start seeing the behaviors, because you're going to see them if you're not doing those things. If I don't greet my children at the door and say, good morning, so good to see you, love those shoes, find something about their person to like compliment them on every morning. I am actually investing in them when I do that. I'm putting something in their bank that when I have to correct or redirect, there are so many more positives to anything that is constructive criticism or feedback for growth. And then there's a bodies of work through the positive behavior supports framework that talks about that particular one. You want to have more positive to negative ratios, meaning you want to give attention to the behaviors you want to see, and you want to make sure you're giving more attention to the things that students are doing right, so they can keep doing that. They have like some type of indication that, okay, doing more of this is good for me, and not in a manipulative, controlling kind of way. This is not what it's intended for. It's really intended to make sure that students are learning as they're developing what are the behaviors in different contexts, right? And then giving feedback on that behavior to strengthen what students are doing, and having conversations with students making sure they're helping to set up the norm so that when you're giving that feedback is not based on your norm, but it's based on the community's collective norms that have been developed with parents and caregivers and students in mind. That's the common sense stuff right there. Build relationships with your students. Let them know how amazing they are every day. Teach high quality instruction and make sure you are an ongoing learner so that you improve as you go. We don't get these things right the first time because we're learning. We get some things right, and then there are things we have to continue to actually develop. Okay. And so there are a lot of things that you all are doing as educators that's right. And especially those of you who have invested in having diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in your districts and in your schools and in your classrooms. Do not let them take you back. It is a trap. More to come. Keep doing the good work you're doing and keep looking for ways to continuously improve, making sure that you're looking at the systems and not necessarily looking at the students first or their families or their conditions. And then the things that you actually have control over, which is a lot, focus on those things. And then when you put everything in place for the students to thrive and you know that you're constantly engaging in that work, then you can see what additional supports a student might need. But do not fall for the trap of common sense discipline. It is a trap and it is going to take you backwards, and you're going to see in the long run dismal outcomes because a lot of harm is going to be done to our precious students. I will leave you with this. Are you a parent, an aunt, a sister, uncle? Like, do you have children in your life that you love, that you are a part of their village? Keep that in mind as you're doing this work. The way that I'm viewing this student, when I want someone viewing the child that I love, whether it's my child that I birthed or that I am the parent of or the caregiver of, or that I am a family member of that I really value, would you do to any of the children that are part of your personal village and circle outside of your school system what you're doing to that child or how you're responding to that child? If the answer is no, then you want to think about it, because I tell you what, I was a classroom teacher, a building principal. I was a curriculum director, district administrator, state technical assistance provider, national technical assistance provider. And I will tell you that we are entrusted every day in our work, no matter what level we're working at, with someone else's child. And the love that we have for our children or the children in our family is the love that those family members have for their child. And if we could just keep that in mind and know that we're going to make sure that we treat that child the way we would want someone else to treat our children, we're going to have a different approach. We have to put humanity back in education. We have to put humanity back into discipline. And discipline is about teaching. It is about redirecting. It is about growth. It is not about pound of flesh. It is not about revenge. It is not about saving your own face. It is not about being in control. It is about engaging in interactions with each and every student in ways that they have dignity and that they know that they are appreciated, valued, and loved for who they are and the ways in which they show up.